Welcome back to Rome, Fate of an Empire. After playing several short games to learning the game and to see if I can win on a normal difficulty, I now want to try a full game. As a leader, I'm still going with Augustus because I, know him well by now and I haven't played a full game with him yet, and I think it's a fairly good leader, maybe even an easy one. I'm not sure if they are supposed to be of different difficulty or not, but if they are, it's definitely an easy one, I would say. At least from my past experience. And the full game will add one full round to the game. Instead of 3, it's now 4 rounds, which seems like a very big upside, especially with the trade deals. And Augustus has the foreign trade ability, which allows him to initiate trade even though his pawn is not on the territory he wants to trade with. And with another full round of even more turns, this sounds like a big deal. If you can have multiple trade deals ongoing, you will get a lot of resources. Since I already mentioned turns, the first round can have up to 5, the next up to 6, 7, and then 8, which also means that adding another round with 8 turns in comparison to the 5 and 6 and 7, which are 18 in total, these are 8 more turns. That's roughly 40% more. And if you already built up some level 2 developments and so on, having 8 more turns sounds like a really big deal. Of course, when it comes to Edict, a full game will now go beyond 2. Usually it's 3 or even 4. I do think, since I'm kind of feeling emboldened from the games I already played, that I do not want to continue with normal, but I want to go to hard or even expert, which does mean 3 partial and a full edict, or even 2 partial and 2 full. This might turn out to be a huge mistake, but I want to try it out, especially since I said already that I see Augustus as a leader I have some knowledge of by now, and initiating the trade deals and really getting all the resources from them, having the ability to be better in battle and get the gold there, have an easier time building developments, and the only downside is really that you have to pay more gold to actually get to the developments. From the first 3 games I also had the insight that the attribute cards you can actually cycle through. So there are 60 cards in the game, but the starting deck is already 16, and from 6 leaders you have 2 versions each. That's another 12 cards. So 28 of the 60 are the starting cards where you compose the starting deck of, which only leaves 32 for this pile here. And since there are 5 in the offer with 4 rounds and exchanging the offer 3 times, we already see 20 of these cards anyway. That only leaves 12 cards that you need to actively pursue, which means either buying a card such that it's refreshed in the next turn, or cycling a card. So if you buy and cycle 12 cards, you will see all the attribute cards that are in the game. I'm not sure if this is good or bad. Currently I'm seeing it probably as an upside if you want to play consistently, because you do need some cards that, for example, give you gold. You do need some cards that allow you to get rid of strife alone cards even from the discard pile, and if you can go through them all, that's probably an upside. For the developments, I think it's a different story because the pile seems a bit higher. So from the manual, these 2 combined are 59 development cards. Obviously the level 1 pile is much higher, so I would wager it's something like 2 to 1. So this should be roughly 40 cards. That could make sense in comparison to the 32. And then you have 20 more of the level 2s, so you probably won't see all of them. And the combination of the territories is obviously quite important for how well your game is going. The edicts I have randomly drawn are the Via Appia, which requires you to build a road network with a total of 12 iron. And you have to build 5 developments that are not adjacent to the capital, so the only spaces that do not count are the directly adjacent ones. And in the full version you have to pay a little bit more iron, so at that point it's 19, and you have to build 8 away from your capital. To be honest, I currently see this as quite achievable. All the edicts that need only resources in quotes, if you have a leader like Augustus with the foreign trade and 4 full rounds, it sounds like it should not be too hard to actually achieve. The debt crisis means that you are starting with 2 additional loans in the deck, but do only get 2 gold extra, not the usual 4 you would get from 2 loans. And you do have to pay off debt in the game, which is 8 gold here, and in the full version it would be 10, but you also start with 4 loans in the deck. That's something that probably does not go well with Augustus, and I have no interest in making this a full edict. Then Trajan's Market, where at the end of game you must only have 3 or less strife cards in your deck. That's a restriction, but again, with a 4-round game you have much more time to get rid of them. And you have to build a market with food, on the regular side with 13. On the full version you have to come up with 21, so quite a steep increase. But more importantly, you must end the game without any strife cards at all. So this is also something that sounds like a big restriction, so I'm tentative to leave that as a partial edict. Then the Glory to Rome, which requires you to build at least 2 level 2 developments. That doesn't sound hard at all. If you can do it in 3 rounds, you should be able to do it in 4. And as an alternative, you could build just 1 level 2, but then you would have to build a level 1 of each of the 4 types. On the full version, you have to build at least 5 level 2 developments. Again, I don't think that sounds like a big deal if you're going for 4 rounds. Maybe I'm delusional. The Virtuous Emperor we already played, I think, twice, where you have to max out 2 of your leader bonus tracks or have 3 on level 4. That can be hard to achieve in 3 rounds. Well, I mean the maxing out, but then usually you can get 3 of them to level 4. And having 6 advanced attribute cards in your deck at the game end is, in my experience, trivial. If in 3-round games you can have 12 or even 15 cards in your deck, I don't see why in a 4-round game you would have less. And as I already alluded to, after cycling or getting 12 cards, you already see the full deck. And in the last 3-round game we played, we cycled through the deck. This is why I calculated this. And even in the full version, it's only 9 advanced attribute cards. Again, if in a 3-round game this is no problem, why would it be a problem in a 4-round game? So this doesn't sound like a big obstacle, but you have to max out 3 of your leader's bonus tracks. That sounds quite hard. But again, we have a full 4th round. So if we are going for hard, we would have to select 3 edicts for partial and 1 for full. Let's leave out this. This would mean we would have to turn 2 of the full ones back. For example, this with these points here. Because on hard you have to get a victory point total of all of them, which I find quite interesting. And then to expert, you play 2 full edicts, but only have to achieve the sum of the 2 highest ones. Which funnily enough means that if I go for expert, I would have to turn 1 of these 3 full edicts back to the normal side and then go for something like 43 victory points. If I go for hard instead, I have to turn 2 back to the normal side, but then I have to achieve the full sum of victory points. For example, if I turn these 2 back, that would be something like 55 points, so a lot more. So on hard, it's maybe the victory points that are an issue. On expert, it's that you actually have to fulfill 2 full edicts and 2 partial ones. I'm actually not sure how I feel about this, because it sounds to me like it's a difference, not necessarily that expert is so much more difficult than hard. But again, I might be delusional here. I have no idea. I've only played the game 3 times. All right, so I do feel that if you go for a lot of developments, then these 2 would go like very well together, buying 5 level 2s and 8 not at the capital. But that's a very high victory point goal. And going for a lot of level 2s will also mean that maxing out tracks is much easier. I do feel that going for no strife cut is much harder than just restricting it to 3. I think that's a much laxer goal, and we have to go with some partial edict anyway. As I said, with this edict, the 9 advanced attributes cards, I have no doubt in my mind that I can easily achieve that. But we would commit to maxing out the 3 tracks. So if we go for expert, we should probably dial down this, because then the victory point goal is much easier to achieve with 36. And then we do not need as many level 2s. So if we build 8 developments, not adjacent to the capital, come up with 19 iron, build at least 2 level 2s, max out 3 tracks, and have 9 advanced attribute cards, and then also pay 13 food, and have a maximum of 3 strife cuts in the end in the deck, that would be an expert win. I do think I want to try that, go big or go home, so to speak, and not even bother with hard. Which does mean that we do have to make a little bit of room here. So let's place the edicts that require resources here, and then the other 2 here, so that we have them in sight and keep them in mind. This is my deck, this is my discard, this is my cheat sheet. Alright, so for the setup of the game, we do have the advanced attribute card of art, which allows you to get gold if your leader is on a development that provides stability. That's the one that increases the capacity of trade deals. We do start with Augustus with 3. That's usually enough, because you do want to secure good ones, and they are actually hard to get. At least 3 in the first round, that's hard to get, because you do need a lot of technology. But I do like me a good gold card, and it gives you up to 3 gold, because if your leader is on development that provides stability, you can spend industry, which is the attribute that you require for cycling, but you can also then spend it for gold. That seems good. And you can, at some point in the game, you can reduce your stability by up to 5 spaces and increase your capacity instead, which makes you much faster, so you can move more. And you do get a gold for every point you shift. So I do like to pick up this card. The social event is a culture card, but you can convert up to 4 or 6 movement points to also count as culture. And that sounds really good because this makes this card a really high culture card, which has a ceiling of 6 or 10. And there are a lot of level 2 developments that give a lot of victory points and are really good that do require a lot of culture. The formation is a good combat card with 3 and 6, and you can pay a food to increase this to 4 and 8. The Roman concrete is an industry card, which is 2 and 7, but a 2 can be increased by 1 for every spent influence on development. So if you have a lot of influence and it's spent, it can, without powering, be a good source of industry. And finally, the Shepherd is an industry card, 4 and 6, which does provide more movement if you played for that. And having such a card is also not bad. So my point here is that they are all quite good, I think. They sound reasonable. So I might just pick them up from the lowest and just have the rest shift down and pick them up as well. As for the developments, we have the Domus in the first spot, which you can't just build in the beginning because it has to be adjacent to a development that produces food or water. But it does increase the population by 2, which is really nice if you go for a taxing strategy. And we do have the Hospitum as well, which has the same downside that it has to be adjacent to a development that produces food or water. And the only development that qualifies is the Aqueduct, which produces water. The sculpture is quite interesting because it provides stability, so it would go well with the art. And it has the ability that you can gain food or water, even 2, after you have gained stone or iron. So if you have any source of this and it's already influenced, you can spend the influence to get 2 resources, which is really good because you do need some resource engine. And it's really easy to build with just 2 culture for Augustus. Finally, we have the Gazebo, which also provides stability, also a cheap culture building, where you can pay food or water to gain double amount of iron and stone. So that sounds like an engine. If you gain some of the materials, you get food or water, and then with the food or water, you multiply it again into the materials. As for the territory layout, we do not have any trade relations around the capital, which for Augustus is probably a good thing, because then you can actually develop there without ending any deals, because you can have the deals run anyway where they are, because you do have the foreign trade ability. We obviously do not see any enemies yet, and we do not have a watchtower or something like that that helps us with fighting. 3 of the adjacent territories have resting bonuses where you do get resources, stone, iron and water, and there's a development bonus of 2 stone adjacent to the capital. Actually, there is a chain of territories that all give development bonuses. That might be a play to start developing here, then free them, do some conquest, and then develop up here. Augustus starts with 3 influence, 2 movement, 1 population, and a hand emblem 5, and that's the last thing we need to do before we can actually start the game. So we are drawing 5 cards, and we do have the Princeps Civitatis, where we can influence the capital, which is of no use because we are still in the capital. But the more important ability is that we can purchase any card from the market for exactly 2 gold, which is really good in the beginning of the game. For example, we could get the Gazebo for just 2 instead of 5, because they are actually more expensive because of the City of Marble ability of Augustus. Mercuralia is also an industry card. The Civil War we have to unfortunately deal with right away. The Merchant, another industry card, and an Onager's, which is industry, so it could give us a trade deal. The Civil War we have to play right away, and since we do not have a red card, we cannot play the upper section anyway, or well, we could, but we would have to discard 2 other cards, which I won't do, obviously. We can ignore the basic action of this card if we use the powered version. Unfortunately, this means that we have to pay a gold for this. We start with 3 because we do not have food, and then we must immediately take 1 loan, but we do still receive gold. So net positive of 1, but we do have a loan card in the discard pile now. As I remarked with the other games, these cards I have in hand, and I do discard the played cards right away, even though this would be a cleanup step regularly. But I won't play with the cards in hand so that you can actually see them. Which does mean that our first turn has only 4 cards, and there's no reason to not influence the capital as usual. And I feel like there's a combo here with the art. If we pick that up, we have a lot of industry. If we can build the sculpture, we could start with some gold production right away. But it might be asking for too much because we do have to buy the card, the sculpture, have to come up with 2 culture, which we currently, well, we do have it with the merchant, that's nice. Then place it there, move there next turn. Actually, it sounds achievable. But I do like the idea. It would start with a gold source. We would reveal the first 2 enemies, so we could think about conquest. We would start the first development. We would get 2 stone, which is good to power these cards again. So I do think I want to pursue this. That would mean paying 3 gold for the sculpture, so we are back to 1. We we are taking this to the active area right away. And we do play the merchant for 2 culture, which is enough because of Augustus, because of Agrippa, which means that developments have -1 IP build cost. So that only costs 2 culture, so we can develop this. And we do not need to be present to do this. And I do want the on development bonus of 2 stone, which means I'm getting 2 stone. And now we do have a sculpture. We immediately get 1 stability, which would give us access to another trade deal. But if we use them for short-term deals, we will not get the tokens back until we develop, which also means that we cannot use those for long-term deals. Also, we get 2 victory points, so we are at 2 now. And I do think I want to spend the last gold for the art, so next turn we can actually play this. The question is if we do anything else with the first turn. I think we should do this, because we have only played 1 card so far, or 2 if you count the Civil War. This is not useful currently, because we do not need industry yet, because we are not yet at a sculpture, and we don't have the card we just bought. This would at best be a short-term trade deal, which I do not like. I really want a long-term one. So we should keep that and maybe combine with another card that provides technology. And this one, well, the regular effect does not do much for us, but the advanced effect does, of course. It does give our industry, however, and another effect. And another effect is that we can buy a card for 2 gold, no matter where it comes from. And as I said, maybe we want to get the gazebo with this, but we should probably use this in a turn where we actually want the industry, which is next turn. What we also should probably do is spend the influence on the capital, because we have no gold left currently and we do need gold. Taxing doesn't do much for us, so I do think I want to take up 2 loans. In the beginning of the game, it's much more important to have gold than to care too much about the loan cards in your discard pile. So that's 4 gold that we get, which does mean that we could use this just to draw more cards, but I'm not sure that we want to. But we could use this now to pick up the shepherd, which does mean we are not using it to circumvent the City of Marble penalty, which is not good, but it would mean that we can play it now to get this card, and next turn, if we power this, so we do have the 2 stone from the development bonus, we can power this now and power this next turn. We will have the 6 industry that we need for the 3 gold from the art. And we can use the industry now to cycle cards. And this is something that you have to keep in mind with Rome. Cycling becomes more expensive the longer you wait. So if you do not want to pick something up, you should cycle that quite early. In this game, it might be a play to just get rid of the Hospium and the Domus, which does cost exactly 4 industry. So we could do it with this. So the gazebo actually drops down to the cheapest place, even though it's still 3 gold. But 3 gold and 2 gold is not that big of a difference. And the shepherd, and this I didn't mention yet, in the play I'm just describing, where we power this next turn for the 6 industry for art to get 3 gold. Once we are here, it also means that we get +2 on a card played for movement, so it does not need to be this card. So we will have a lot of movement. And since we have only 5 turns in the first round, I think I should play more cards, and I do not want to play those. So I'm talking myself into paying a stone, playing Princeps Civitatis for 4 industry, and I'm paying 2 gold to purchase any card of the offer. And I'm taking the shepherd, even though it's the most expensive one, which usually would cost 3. I'm not sure if it's good to not use this to pick up cheaper developments, but I'm doing it. Which does leave the 4 industry. I'm still discarding this anyway. And I will cycle the Domos for 3 and the Hospitum for 1. Cycling means they are placed under their respective decks. And I think that's it for the first turn. We did not move, so we don't get a resting bonus. We do get our influence back from the capital. We do replenish the market, so the social event will now be the cheapest. And we do refresh with hot oil, so another combat card. And the Musician, which allows you to ready influence on development that provide stability. And we are planning currently to place 2. We already have 1, so that could be a really good card to get this combination going. The aqueduct and the gazebo are now cheap, well, relatively speaking, for Augustus. And we do get an armamentarium, which allows you to use your population as military, which is no good for us. And we just removed the 2 population cards. A bridge, which is iron production, that would be good for the road here, for the edict. And an insula, which provides water, a little bit of population. You can turn stone to water, basically, and a ratio of 1 to 3. You can ready influence on adjacent developments while it's influenced, that's good. And you can even trash strife cards, that's quite interesting. Now we draw up to 5 cards. There's the shepherd we bought, there's the art we bought, and there's discipline, which is a card to keep in mind that this is a red card that looks like a combat card, but it's really not, because the card in itself doesn't do anything. You have to discard another card, and depending on the color, you are getting combat or you're getting technology or industry. So that might be a way to actually get to 7 industry to get a good trade deal. But before we play, we have to advance the turn cube. So we're in turn 2 now. We unfortunately do not have any active agreements. Unfortunately, we do not have active projects. So we are now in turn 2. Seeing that we do want to play this and this for a trade deal, this for gold, together with this leaves this card only to either play it for movement, and we do have to do this if we want to get the gold now, or to discard it if we want to initiate a trade deal. And I do think the trade deal has precedence because it does give one more turn of yield then. Before we do anything, we should probably just influence the capital. That's always good. If we want to power all this, we do need water anyway. We do have 1 stone left that we can use to power this, and we would benefit from food as well. There is a territory that gives an on-development water bonus, but I do think for the second turn I should probably focus on getting the trade deal going. That could mean paying 1 gold for 4 industry, and then discarding a card that's not red to get another 3 industry, that's 7, which gives us any deal we want. We could also do it the other way around, power this, which would mean that we would 2 and 5, but it's still 7. So I do think I want to do this, which does mean I'm probably going for water, because I then can actually power the art. We do have the edicts for iron and food, so these are deals that we want to definitely initiate, but we have to keep in mind that we are in the first round of 4 and the later rounds have more turns, so we actually get a better yield if we initiate these deals for these resources later. So I do think I will just take this 7 water deal. Again, with foreign trade we can just do that without going there first, which gives us our first water right away. And at that point I can't do much because I do not want to play any of these without by empowering them, and I have to be at the sculpture to actually profit from this. We should probably just buy this card now because we do plan to get the gazebo. 3 gold we will get from the art, and then we do need culture anyway, and this is just a card for later, although we could get a lot of movement next turn. I think I should just do that just to cycle down the other cards, so to make them cheaper. If I'm skipping a turn, so to speak, I'm skipping 1 bonus, so to speak, as well. So I'm paying a gold to just pick that up and know that I will have culture to actually buy the next development that I do want to get. And that's my second turn then. Again, we are not resting. We are not using the capital. We could think about doing that, but for what? To get 1 gold for taxing, it's for strife, that's probably not a good idea. And to pick up more loans, I do think I want to try with the art instead to buy the gazebo and then see what enemies we actually reveal and if we can fight. So far we didn't draw our military cards, so I don't think there's any haste in getting more money. So we are replenishing the market, which reveals the patrician. It's another culture card where we can use money to increase it to high values, 5 and 9. Since we do not have that many turns in the first round, I don't think we will pick up that card. And we will draw now, and we will of course draw the social event and 2 more cards, which is the orator and a show of force, so finally 1 combat card. We are now in the 3rd turn, so we're advancing the cube. We don't have active projects, but we do get the water from our active trade deal. So this deal will in total give us most likely 10 water, 4 from the first round, because we did not initiate in the first turn, and 6 from the second. Because it's quite unlikely that we develop over this, because there's probably no need to. Alright, so we do have the water and iron to power these, and we should or have to play a card for movement so we can actually play the art on the sculpture. We will then have enough money to buy the gazebo and have to play culture to actually build it, which does leave these 2 cards, and I do not want to play this for movement, which does mean I have to play this for movement. Movement is currently 2, but once I power this, I will actually get +2 movement. I'm not sure about the timing here, but it's formulated in a way that makes me believe that I retroactively increase the movement on the card that I played for movement. Otherwise it would mean that it's a lingering effect that triggers after playing this once I play a card for movement. I'm not sure it matters too much. There might be a timing issue, but I don't think in my turn currently it's relevant. So I pay 1 movement to go to the sculpture. I do pay 1 stone to activate the shepherd, which gives me 6 industry and 2 movement on a card played for movement. So I will do this now and just dial it up to 3 again. And just to point it out, I could have done this the other way if the timing is the other way around, because I do not need to move there to actually play this card. So I'm discarding this, but I do have to keep in mind that I have 6 industry, but I will now pay water to pay the art or to power it, which reduces... No, I don't actually need to power it. I forgot about that. It's a misplay. I could have taken another deal because I do not actually need to power this. If your leader is on development that provides stability, which this sculpture does, spend up to 6 industry, which we have exactly to gain 1 gold for every 2 you spend. So I'm getting 3 gold. So we keep our water. And I do think I want to spend the 3 gold to go with the plan to buy the gazebo and then play the social event for 2 culture to place it immediately because again of Agrippa it's costing only 2. And I'm placing this here because I do get a placement bonus, even though it's again water. So maybe water was a misplay, but we will see. Usually there's always something to do with all these kinds of resources. Especially with the socialize here, we can actually turn water into iron or stone. So that already sounds like a good idea. Since we are the sculpture, we should influence this. It's not adjacent to development that has industry build costs, so we are not drawing. Actually, we should reveal the enemies. So there's quite a tough one with 4 armor and 5 attack. And an equally tough one with 7 armor and 2 attack. I do think I want to move to the gazebo right away. That costs us a movement point. And also influence this. There's no immediate bonus. But while influenced, we can socialize. So up to twice per turn we can pay food or water to gain 2 iron or stone. And we can spend the influence later if adjacent to level 2 development to pay 4 same type resource to gain 2 gold. Usually that would only net you 1 gold. So that's doubling the ratio. This also means that we can leave this influence. That's the good thing about this. So I'm moving back. Actually, we should think about where to move. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I do think I want to use the twice per turn ability on water. So I'm using this twice, losing 2 water. And I do think I would just want to get 2 iron and 2 stone just to be flexible because I currently do not have a big plan. We can use the artistry now right away, which does say gain 2 food or water after you gain any iron or stone. So I do think I want to do that because we just got both of them actually. And since food is the only thing we are missing, we are also getting 2 food. I feel quite good about this, that we now have 2 of every resource. We cannot re-influence this, but we should probably do that to keep the combo going. So we should probably move up again, but we do have 2 movement still. And we could go somewhere else to get another resting bonus. But I don't think we need water. This only works for strife cards that are in our hand, not a discard pile. And we don't have any strife anyway. And the rest are not resting bonuses. We could get iron. But I do think we should get to the north again into these battles. So I'm moving up. This enemy we could actually defeat with the show force only, because it just has 4 armor, and the armor is actually reduced by 1. But it's no good, of course, because of the attack, because we would get a lot of strife cards. But then again, if we draw any other combat card next turn, we can probably deal with this. We did not dial this down further, so 1, 2, 3 movement, and we had 2 plus 2 from the card we played, from the Shepherd, I think. So I think the remaining question is, do we move on to maybe battle this, reveal 2 more enemies, and if we do not draw more combat cards to actually have something to do, so we know what other enemies are there, but then again we cannot re-influence this right away. I do think we should do that. So I don't think we will use this, we will just let the rest go. So we hold on to our combat card. We currently do not have gold. We do have an engine, but it's not a gold engine. And we did not fight yet. So if we use the influence on the capital now, we could at least pick up the formation, which is a really... Actually, we have to do that. Now that I'm thinking about this out loud, it's 4 or 8 military, and it's the complete enemy actually, because they are actually having both 9 and with -1 armor, 8 will just defeat one of them. So I think we do have to do that. So we are spending the influence on the capital. But at that point, I think I want to take it a little bit slower and just take 1 loan. So getting 2 gold. But for 1 gold, I'm immediately paying this to also pick up the formation. So next turn, we do have this in hand. Which also does mean that the final movement that we had, I do want to spend now, finally. I really want to do that. So I do think we just move here because as the first action, we now know that we can just defeat this and get 3 gold and free another territory that gives us something on development. So if we get all this gold from fighting, we might even be able to pick up another territory. Re-influencing this is good, but then again, this with the trade deal we are having is good in its own. So this does not need to be done every turn. And maybe putting the Insula with the Mingle here, with the ongoing ability that we can ready an influence on adjacent development, is actually a nice combination. Because if we put that here, we can ready the influence on the sculpture all the time. Yeah, I think I want to leave it at that. So we do reveal the enemies. So a medium one that gives 2 gold with 6 combined strength. And a 7 combined strength that gives 3 gold. So I think we are getting a fair amount of gold if we are continuing with some conquest. But that's really it for this turn. For turn 3, we are holding on to this military card. We just bought one. Again, we do not have a resting bonus. We do remove, unfortunately, these 2. And we cannot re-influence them without going there. We do replenish the market. And there's the oxen. That's something that we should really pick up because we can get rid of loans from our discard pile with resources. That's so insanely good. As for developments, we have a farm now in the offer, which I'm not that interested in currently. We do draw, and we do draw the formation, of course, that we just bought. Another show of force, a physician, probably we use this for movement, and a chariot. We could also use these two to actually get another trade deal going. I don't think that's a waste, which does probably mean that we use any of those to actually move. Let's see. But we are now in turn 4. No active projects, but we have the water deal going, so we get a water. And this is turn 4 now. And I do think the first thing we want to do is pay an iron to play the formation. We do pay a food, and now we have 8 military. 3 military is enough with Agrippa to defeat the enemy, which leaves the other 5 to block the attack completely. Which does mean we are getting 2 points and 3 gold. And this enemy is defeated. Since I do have a steady income of water, I do really want to use this with the gazebo, with the socialize. So up to twice per turn, we pay a water, so we're paying 2 again. And we are picking up iron or stone. And since we want to fight, I will definitely pick up iron. And I do think I'm picking up stone just because we have less of that in comparison to iron. As for developments, I definitely want to pick up the insula. It has the mingle ability, which I already alluded to, that it's good combination with the sculpture and the gazebo. And later in the game, I can use hearty meal to trash strife from hand. That sounds like an awesome ability as well. But it does cost us 5 industry or 4 with Augustus. And we only have industry cards here that provide 3, which are also our combat cards. So we probably cannot build this right now. The other question is if we want to use this right now for another trade deal or if we hope for another card that actually gives technology. And I think we should do that because we do need to get going. We do still have a lot of cards in our deck and we are in the second to last turn. So we do have exactly 5. We should probably not buy any then. Don't think that card is as important, although it's a trade deal in itself. If we now buy it, that actually sounds like a good argument. But let's concentrate on how we can actually use all these cards. And I am playing with the idea to go to this enemy right away because it's just 6. -1 is 5, so powering either of those will just defeat it. We do get a strife, but we do get 2 gold, and we do get an on-development bonus later with 1 gold once we place development there. And we will see 2 new enemies. So 1 card for movement, 1 for fighting. But maybe we should just do it with these 2 cards and then play these 2 for a deal, because the deal we are now taking only gives us 2 resources in the first round and then 6 in the next, so 8. It's still good, but it's not like the last 2 rounds where in total you get 15. And I do like this plan because it plays all our cards, which does mean a food and a water to power these 2 for, again, 7 technology. With 7 technology, we can pick whatever deal we like. There are currently no 7 deals available anyway. There's another water, which we do not want. There's stone and iron, which probably means that we should pick the stone deal for now because we can get more iron later. So I'm placing that here, getting another stone. We are then using one of these to move, dialing it down once. Going here, paying an iron for 4 military. 3 defeats the enemy, 1 does a partial block, so to speak, which means that we are getting 1 strife card in damage. But this defeats this enemy, giving us a 1 glory point and 2 gold. And this is also defeated. We do reveal the adjacent enemies. So now there's an easy one. So that would have been an option to move with another card and use the other show force to also defeat this flawlessly, but it's just 1 gold. And there's another medium enemy that gives 2 gold for a combined strength of 6. So I should think about where to move with the last point. I do think either to this enemy, anticipating there's a military card still left, and at that point I should know more about my deck. We do have the strife, of course. 2 shows of force should, well, there's 1 here. 1 here, the formation we bought. The discipline is not a combat card, so there should be 1 left. So there are probably 2 culture cards left because we bought 2. And there should also be 2 industry cards left, which would be good if we want to really buy the insula and build it, of course. Yeah, so I should know what the last combat card is, and it's only 1. The question is if it does not allow me to make a good battle, where am I actually positioned at that point? And do I want to go back to the combination here? And I should probably go back, especially if I put the insula here. I want to get my influence in position. I will then have all influence on the map, which also means that I can then focus on fighting without going back. So I should probably go back, and next turn then with at least 2 movement, place 2 influence here, once I bought the insula and built it, because we do not only have one turn left. So this is the last movement point, and we've played all our cards. This could give me another trade deal, but I actually do not want to close up another one at the end of the first round. It's just one resource then. I do want the oxen, so that might be a reason to pick it up, especially since I can then use it right away. And it does actually give a lot of influence. But we will not see all the cards from this deck then. But I do think with the loans I'm taking, I should really pick up the oxen. For the rest, I can live with not having it. But if we pick it up now for 3 gold, we will have only 3 left. And the insula costs 4. So we are 1 gold short then, and we do really have to fight. But if we are not picking up the oxen now, we will not be able to use it in the first round. That seems like a pivotal moment. We would have to move to the capital then to get gold and could not influence the new territory or fight to make the insula play. But I feel like this has to work. I really want to play the oxen. I feel like the oxen will pay itself multiple times over because we can remove loans without actually paying gold, and we do have an engine that produces stone or iron, so I do want to pick that up and use it right away. So we are paying 3, picking up the oxen, even though we are not seeing the full deck then. Alright, so we don't have a resting bonus. We did not spend any new influence. So we just replenished the market with the 10th ladder. It's a good card. It's doubles as technology or culture, powered with food, but we won't be able to pick it up. At that point, we draw a new hand. So the oxen definitely. Probatus is the fighting card. I should have known that I have it. So 4 military, that's good. The engineer can help with building. I should have known that this is coming up. The senator, which does not help with building. So we actually do need the engineer. And pottery, which sounds like a candidate I will just use for movement. Which does leave 1 card. I should really know what it is. And at that point, I'm just looking because I don't want to reverse engineer that. And it's the culture card, Physician. I think we had one of those already, so it's the 2nd Physician in the starting deck. Alright, no active agreements, but we do have 2 deals going, which is water and stone. And at that point, the water income is not good enough to sustain the socialize here. So I really have to influence the sculpture. Okay, so to play the insula, we are lacking 1 gold. That was the problem. We actually do not have the food to power this, nor do we have the food to power this. The 4 would actually be enough to build. Maybe we are not actually fighting then this turn, because I do feel like if we influence this, we can get food. And if we influence the capital, we can pick up more loans that we can just repay right away. So we can just turn all the stone into gold, basically. So I do think we profit from a lot of movement, because we have to move here first, but we want to influence it in the end. So maybe 2 movement and 2 movement back is the way to go here. This could actually mean that we do not need to power the engineer. So let's see if we can move with both of those, which means that we would not fight this turn, but I do think getting 4 gold from the capital with the oxen is a good idea. Maybe I'm overdoing it with the loans, but getting rid of 2 from the discard pile, it just sounds too tempting. So I do think I want to use these 2 movement from the pottery to move here and to the capital. We influenced this on the way, and we influenced this. The sad thing is that we could actually use the inspiration to draw the last card once we have an industry building adjacent, which we want to do with the insula, but we do not have 4 gold. And without the capital, there's no way to get to gold. Unless we are fighting. Yeah, let's not over-optimize this. We do not need the last card. At that point, I do want to use this up to twice per turn. Pay a food or water, so we are paying a water to gain iron. Actually, what am I doing here? Because I spend now all the influence. So if I put the insula there, I cannot influence it right away. But let's continue with this. This would need to spend this then after gaining iron or stone to then get also food. But I'm not sure I wanted to go to the capital. Let's make that a little bit slower. Let's leave that here and still have 1 movement on the pottery. So we just move down, then use this ability and use this ability. We don't need to move at all actually to do all this. That's a good point. So let's actually move back. So we did not move at all. We just used the gazebo once to put 1 water into 2 iron and then spend the influence on the sculpture with the artistry to get 2 food as well. And at that point, I think I will just get the gold by using 4 stone for 1 gold. So we don't need to move at all. Let's not be hasty with this, because 4 gold is actually enough to buy the insula. We can then use these 2 without powering to pay any resource. And at that point, I'm paying iron to get +2 of the needed attributes. So 4 industry to actually build this. And we are building this here to gain 2 food, 2 victory points immediately, and a population. But then we are actually here, so we can influence it right away. pay a stone to get 3 water with the immediate effect, then use the mingle to ready this influence. And at that point I'm using the gazebo again, so the socialize, to pay another water and to finally also get 2 stone. So this up to twice I used. This I readied and used it before. Here I got the running water and used the mingle. We could use this on the sculpture again, but I do not want to necessarily go there, and that's the point. So I do like that a lot. I do think at that point I will just pay the food for this. We then pay 3 stone to trash up to 2 loans in the hand or discard pile. Of course we will take them from the discard pile then. Actually trashing is what makes the oxen dangerous, because we are now trashing these 2 and 2 additional ones from the pile, but I think they are more than enough. And these are the first cards on the trash pile. But we do also get 5 technology that we can use for another trade deal. And I do think at that point I will just pick up the 2 water here, because I do not want a long running water deal. I don't see currently why I would want that with all the water income we have here. So now we get 1 water and then 1 at the start of the next round, and then it will have run its course. So these 2 cards I did play to actually put down the insula, which leaves us with these 2 cards, which does mean we could just kill the enemy here or the enemy here, depending on if we want to strive or not. And I do think I want to open up the food deal for next round. So I do think I will play this for 2 movement. Move here, then pay 1 iron for 4 military. 3 will kill it, 1 will defend. So we don't get strive, no victory points, but 1 gold. Enemies defeated. And at that point I do not have any more cards, but I could buy the Roman concrete, which is a nice card because for 1 food you get any trade deal you like. And I do think in the game I do want to create more trade deals. So maybe I'm just picking it up for 1 gold, so we will have it in the next round. But that's it then. The influence I do not want to spend, because we do have an engineer now where we can use this socialize twice. We can then use the artistry once, and then we can use the mingle to raid it again, and we don't need to even be there. So maybe it's the time to go for conquest here now and just leave them be. We did reveal this, which is another medium enemy with 6 combined strengths for 2 gold, which I do like with Augustus because it's quite easy to defeat actually. So no resting action, no influence we get back. I feel like I forgot to advance the cube, and this is one of these timing aspects where we should replenish the market first, but the advanced turn cube will definitely end the round, and usually you do not replenish then. So this was definitely our last turn. We already played 5 turns. We barely made it through the decks. We had 1 card left and we just bought 1. So I'm not replenishing, even though it would be the step before this, because I do think it's obvious that we do not have a turn. I think I missed advancing it once, because we should really just get a resting bonus and our influence back, but the rest is then no longer necessary and we are at the end of round, which does mean shuffling the discard pile, then resetting the turn cube and advancing the round cube. I shuffle it a bit, but I will continue to shuffle this. But let's first do the other things. We cycle the market. So we could actually decide on the order here, but I do not want to be strategic about that. So there's a siege tower coming up right away. A legionary as well. That is a good combat card for the conquests that are coming up. This is an awesome card for us if we get access to all resources, which I think we do, because this can get us up to 4 gold and can ready influence later. This is a card that doubles as technology and military, which is insane for Augustus. And this actually makes us get loans that are much better conditions. But we do have to cycle out the siege tower, I think, because it's the weakest card we currently have here in the offer. There's a villa here, which would give us more population, and since we already got 1, I think that might actually be a play. And we do get another population card that might be insanely good as a combination. Another insula, a farm. Currently I don't see me going for a farm strategy, and another farm. And finally we exhaust or expire active trade agreements. So we flip those ongoing deals, but they will stay active for the time being. But this one here now expires, but it does give us 1 more water before it expires. So that's the end of round cycle, and we are back to each turn. So I continue shuffling the deck now, and I'll draw my first hand, and then we are in the first turn of the second round. All right, so let's cut it at some place and then draw the first hand. An Orator, Mercurialia, the Civil War unfortunately again, a Shore Force, and an Engineer. But then again, maybe the Civil War is just our way to get a loan, because we do have the Oxen. But then again, we only have 4 cards left here. So if we trash 2 again, we already lost the game. So maybe we have to be a bit more careful with that. But is this the time to discard a Show of Force in the first? I don't think it is. I think in the second round you still need the money. Later on we maybe just discard cards. So I do think I will pay the food. This time we do get the full money then from this. So we pick up another loan. And since we do not have money currently, I do think getting 2 gold is actually quite good. But we are still at the beginning of the turn, so we do pay for active projects, which we don't have, but we do get a water and a stone from our ongoing trade deals. And I think as a first action, I will use the socialize twice and with water. So we reduce water by 2, increase iron by 2 and stone by 2. Then we use the artistry to also get 2 food. And then use mingle to turn it back right away, which leaves the influence as is, and I've used all these effects. I do think I want to build any of these 2 to increase my population, to maybe swap to a taxing game, because the loans, as we have already said, are actually quite dangerous to trash, so we might have to pay them back. And I do really want to build them both. The villa has the advantage that you can actually convert water or food to 3 stone, but it's an influence spending ability, so putting it beside the insula will give me the ability to use that and refresh it without being there. So I do think I want to place that right beside the insula. The hospital, on the other hand, does not have any of this kind of ability, just have a resting bonus, so it does not need to be adjacent to the insula to profit from this. So I do think I will just start with this. It would cost 6 engineering, which I do think is this, and then the powered version of the engineer. That's 2 and 4 is 6. And with Agrippa, that's actually enough, which does cost the food, but we do need still a gold to actually buy this, which does mean probably fighting. And we do have an enemy that has 6 combined strength. With Agrippa it's 5, so that would be 1 strife if we just kill it with the show of force. So I do think I will move with the orator, pay 1 to go here. We will reveal these right away. So that's a 7 strength enemy for 3 gold and a 9 strength enemy for 3 gold, which are good to have once I have my better combat cards. But for the moment, I think I will just pay the iron, have 4 military, 1 defeats it, 3 blocks most of the attack, but we do still get 1 strife in the discard pile. This is discarded, and we do get 1 victory point and 2 more gold, and that's defeated. At that point, I can pay 3 gold to get the villa, then pay 2 industry, and with the food, power this, get 4 more industry by paying any resource. I think I just pay a stone to place the villa, and I'm placing it here adjacent to the insula, which also gives me a placement or development bonus of 1 gold. So we're getting 1 gold back actually. 3 more victory points and 2 population, which brings it up to 3. And if we buy this as well, we will actually max out our first track, and from this point on we can tax, but we are spread thin with influence. I do think I want to use the final movement as well. We did not cycle this, and I'm not sure I want to buy this, but it will mean everything I buy is now more expensive. But I do feel I should start buying stuff, and the legionary will actually give me 5 military, which is good if you want to defeat more enemies. I do think we want to do that. So I do pay 2 gold to pick this up. So we'll see it next turn, and I will use the last movement to continue to this more interesting enemy, because I do want to visit the edge of the map right now and then probably never go there again. Which does reveal this, which is another wimp that can just give me 1 gold for 4 military using Agrippa again. But I think that's the turn. I already used all of this, so no resting bonus, no influence that's returned. We replenished the market. Portable abacus. Readying influence is always good. And now these are shifted down, and there's a fountain. We do need to think about how to increase the other things here, because we do really want more influence and also more drawing power at some point. Movement would be appreciated, but it's not necessary. But I think we, for the moment, concentrate on going on with a conquest, building the hospitum, and then going for a taxing strategy. So we do draw a hand now. The legionary you just bought, an onaga, which can help with defeating, or another trade deal. The art, that's unfortunate because we are really off position here. The senator and a discipline, which is the wild card, so not really a combat card. I do not feel that's the best hand we could have gotten, but it does mean we get +2 if we play another red card. And it is a red card, even if we do not use this for military ourselves. So we can get 7, we can even get 9 if we want to, but that's a bit too much. But we could use this to get another trade deal and then still profit from the gain here. But again, we are getting ahead of ourselves. We should get our stone and water. No active projects, so we are now in our second turn. And I tend to forget to advance the cube, but we are now in our second turn now. So after drawing, I should advance the cube and get my income, and then we are playing our actions. So that's the second turn now. Before we continue with the second turn, I think we have to correct an error I made. I noticed that I did max out, or can max out, a population track once I developed a hospital, but I should have 2 stability already, and I'm only having 1. So I do think I forgot about the gazebo and all immediate bonuses. So I should have 2 stability, because I never converted it with art yet. And as far as the victory points are concerned, the developments give me 6 and 3, that's 9. And you can see it because it's currently off screen, but the enemies I defeated give me another 4, so that's 13. And we are sitting at 11, so that's exactly the 2 points that are missing from the gazebo. I did not check it with the video yet, but I do think it's fairly obvious. The reason I was thinking about that is that I did have to pause for a night to continue the game, and we are currently at the second turn of the second round. I think it's almost clear what we do actually, but I did want to lay back a bit and look at the big picture. And I do have to build at least 8 developments that are not adjacent to the capital. I'm already at 3 and we are in the beginning of the second round, so I feel confident with this. As with the resources, I do think with the trade deals and Augustus that should not be a big deal, and especially if we have an engine going that produces resources. Strive cards, it's currently not a big deal, at least I think so. We don't even have 3, I think, maybe 3. Level 2 developments I will get to quite soon. If not in the round 2, then automatically in the round 3. But maxing out the tracks might be something that we have to plan for, and we are already on the track to max out population. And this is why I was thinking about stability, because I only need 3 more, or I can convert it with art into capacity and then we get capacity from somewhere else. As for the tracks that we actually want to increase, I think increasing wisdom and power would be advisable to have more influence here that we can shuffle around. We already placed all 3 for an engine, to be fair, but we don't have any spare currently. So if we wanted to tax the capital, we couldn't even do that. So wisdom is not actually a bad idea. And we do have 2 farms coming up, which are actually not that expensive, and they would help with building developments that are not adjacent to the capital. Which also does mean that the insular is something that we probably do not want to play, because the hospital will max out our track anyway, and we do not need 2 insulars. As with the oxen and the loan cards, I did realize that my way to get rid of cards is trashing, and trashing is probably nothing that you can do as much. So you should have to plan for normal returning of these cards anyway. Which does actually mean, looking at the capital, that I could do festival. I never did that so far in my games, but I'm already at 2 stability, so for 1 gold, returning 2 strive cards from hand, obviously, that's already something quite interesting. Alright, but now that we have fixed this, I do think we should continue with the turn. The Senator is actually something that I should probably just play for the regular effect, because increasing the effect of cards played face down is currently not interesting to me. I don't want to play most of these cards face down. But cycling a card from any market means that I can cycle this just for free, and I can even cycle more cards. And getting rid of the siege tower is probably a good idea. This is just insanely good for me, because I have all the resources, so it's a way to get 4 gold, so I should definitely buy that. That's a combat and technology card, high technology card, so I should probably get that. That's a way to return loans, even from the discard, so I should probably get that. And here this readies influence, and it also doubles as a high technology card. So there's no way to get rid of them, or no need to get rid of them. But we do want to get rid of the insular and the siege tower, which this card alone can do. So maybe I should just do that to not get sidetracked. So we are cycling a siege tower. And for the 2 industry we also get, it's an and, we cycle the insular, because we just motivated that pretty much everything else has its merits. And this cycling alone will bring the first farm down to the lowest price it will ever be. As for the rest of the cards, if we play the discipline, we would get 7 military with the legionary alone. And the enemy I'm currently at has a combined combat strength of 9, -1 with Agrippa, it's 8, so that would be possible to defeat it with just 1 strive card. But it would mean that we have to play this card first, which again means that we should probably play another card. And one thing that we could do would be to get another long-lasting trade deal in the second turn of the second round. I think that's a good idea. We do have 5 turns left, because we already played 1. And the next round will be 7, so there's a total of 12 resources. I think that's good, fair enough. Which we could do by getting the 3 technology here, by discarding the art, and then getting 4 technology here. But that's the problem if you do not have hand limit increase, because now we are stuck for cards. Because we really do not want to discard the art. But then again, our leader is nowhere near a development that gives stability, so do we really want to drag that around? And the other ability allows us to shift this into capacity, which would mean 2 stability become 2 capacity. Our movement would be increased to 3, and we would get 2 gold. Do we want to do that? We would lose the 4th trade deal, but if we place that first, it will stay on the board. And we have to keep an eye out that these deals will end soon. Well, soon meaning after the round. So we should probably start developing in this general direction. So we can replace them right away once they have run its course. So maybe holding on to art for the basic effect is actually not a good idea. This might be better, but then again, there's no need to do that now. So for the sake of efficiency, I do think maybe we just discard this and get the next deal going. We can convert this later, and one more movement point is nice, but I don't feel it's essential. And we do get gold now right away from the conquest that I'm planning. So I do think we want to play the discipline with an iron. So discarding a non-red card gives me 5 technology. Actually, I could have done it in any order here. I could have boosted this or this. So I think last time I did it the other way around. I think I'm sticking with the iron actually because we do have an iron source, but food is a bit more hard to come by. All right, so we have 5 plus then 2 because we are not boosting this then for a combined total of 7. 7 means that any long-lasting deal is open to us. So I do think we are just picking any of these food deals here and probably the one that's more expensive. So let's just pick this one here. Let's quickly think if there's any alternative here. There is an iron deal here. For the moment, I think iron is much easier to come by because of the gazebo, where while influenced, we can use it twice per turn to just convert it in a ratio of 1 to 2. So getting food is probably obviously better than getting iron. Yeah, so I think I'm using water or food here. There's currently no other water deal available. This one we used for short term, this for long term, and this we haven't freed yet. So we get 1 food immediately, which leaves the legionary, and now we are paying an iron again to power this to get 5 plus 2 because we have played another red card. It doesn't say for military, so it's 7 military, 3 will defeat it, 4 will almost defend us, so we do get a strive card to the discard. Legionary is also placed on the discard, and this enemy is taken care of. We do get 2 glory points, and more importantly, we are getting 3 gold. So now this water deal is also available, but currently we don't need to do this. All right, so this means that we have played all our cards. We don't have any action points or attribute points left, but we have not used our influence yet. And I do think I want to use the up to twice per turn ability. Now that we are getting water and food, I will pay 1 of each. I will definitely get iron because we just spend a lot of iron. And I do think I want to get iron again because we have the same amount of stone and iron. And we do have a stone deal going on anyway. This takes care of the gazebo. We can then trigger the artistry and use the mingle to ready the influence again. I do think I want to do that. There's no reason not to. So gain 2 food or water after you gain 1 stone or iron. So we can get either food or water. I do think I want to take the food. If for no other reason, then this is the 2 edicts we actually have to work on. But it's a bit early, I think, in the second turn of the second round to start piling on to this. But then again, if we are overflowing, then there's no reason not to. This means we have used our influence. We could now also buy something, but I don't think there's any rush. We still have 4 more turns, and we just cycled this, so I think I will not waste the gold and just wait for this to come down. And getting a hospitum, for example, now would mean it clogs up my hand. I'm still at 5, or I have to pay gold for this, so there's no point in doing this. So I don't think I will spend gold on the market. We are in cleanup then, so no resting bonus. We haven't spent influence, which we did not ready again. We replenish the market. It refreshes with a bathhouse that gives culture equal to twice the number of water you currently have. That's up to 20, which is insane. Or it also doubles as a large industry card where you can pay water, so 4 in total. You have to power it and then pay up to 3 to gain 5 industry per water spent, which is 15, which is insane. But then again, there are so many cards here. If we are not cycling any others, I'm not sure we can pick that up. The developments refresh with another sculpture. It's an easy development, so it's really easy to work on this here. But we are planning to build a lot of developments. Let's see how this goes. So this was the refreshing or replenishment of the market. So we draw a new hand, which is the special card of Augustus to pick up cards much cheaper. That's really good to have. A culture card, a loan, unfortunately, a merchant, and another loan. Okay, so now we have to pay for our loans, quite literally. They are clogging up our hand, and we are unsure what to do with them. We can just discard them, of course, but we are not having that much gold, and we didn't draw any combat cards as well. But maybe we can continue with the hospital. And it has a resting bonus that allows us to draw 2 cards, so maybe there's a synergy there. But as usual, after drawing the hand, we are already starting to plan, but we should really advance the cube and then pay for the active projects and check our agreements. And we do have food, water, and stone, so everything but iron is increased. And now we can actually play our actions. So what to do? I think we should build a hospital just to get it out of the way. And we do have the necessary industry. We would need 6 and we can easily get to 6. And I can then use this ability to also purchase a card from the market. Influencing the capital would be nice, but then again we don't have influence, so it's useless currently. But if we want to use this and also build this, it's already 5 gold, so we need another gold source. We cannot fight, and we obviously cannot pay back the loans then as well. So we should probably use our engine here, so up to twice per turn, pay food or water, so I'm paying 2 food here, to then increase iron by 2 and stone by 2. Let's keep it spread out. And then we are using the combination of artistry and mingle to also get 2 food or water, so I'm getting food. So this is the engine. And at that point I feel like we have to do exchanges. Unfortunately, we do not have this card yet. With this card we will get 4 gold just by paying a pair of same type resources of all of them. So we can do this next turn the soonest, because we have to buy this. We have to buy this. That's already 4 gold. And then I do want to use this, so that's 6 gold, so we would need 3 more. At that point I think I am exchanging 4 iron, 4 stone and 4 food for 1 gold each, so we are up to 6. Then we are using 1 to buy this. We are using 3 to buy this. Then we are paying a stone to get a combined 6 industry, which is enough to buy this. I almost did not pay attention that it has to be adjacent to development that produces food or water, so the only 2 we have are the villa and the insula, and there's almost no space because we do not want to get rid of the deal, which pretty much means that we have to put it here. This gives us 3 glory points and 2 more population, and we are maxing out the first track with this, which does leave the effect that for 2 I can buy whatever I like from the offer, irregardless of its cost, and I do think I want to do that. The question is what to buy. It's obviously more efficient to buy a development, but we have the same problem again that we cannot build it right away. Actually, we can if we use this to buy the hospital in the first place. And we can actually do that because these action points or attribute points stay with you for the turn, so we can play this to pay 2 instead of 3, so you would save 1 gold and then build this right away. I think we should have done this. These are all interesting. We could now buy the longship so we have it next turn. But then again, I'm not sure it's necessary to have it next turn. I do think I want to play it, because there was no information revealed, I want to play it the other way. So we did not pay the 2 now for this card. And we are reimbursing ourselves the 3 that we paid for the hospital. So we are back at 5. And then we are using this 2 instead to buy this for just 2 gold. Which does mean that we saved 1 gold and we do not need the other 2. Which does mean in total we did want to buy this card and this card, which costs 1 and 2, which is 3. So we would not even have to do all these exchanges. But I think I'm keeping it like this because I do need gold anyway. And I do think, well, I will actually try to accelerate and pay 2 for the longship right away. I feel like this is a really good card to have because it can give us really a lot of gold for 1 loan, and there are still some in the pile. And it might allow us to repay them later for a lower cost. It just saves 1 gold, but then again, it's a gold, and you do get 5 technology as well. So the question is what to do with the rest of the cards, of course. I don't think there's any good use for this except moving, and we need to move anyway, which does mean I'm moving out of the corner where there's nothing else to do, revealing this, which is another 2 gold for a fairly okay enemy actually to defeat. And I think I will actually stay there, even though it's the least interesting enemy, but I feel like I should just kill them all and take the gold. And if we just draw 4 military, then it's the perfect enemy, and otherwise we would have to move again. So this would be dialed down to 1 anyway, and we are not using the last movement point. And I do think at that point we are just discarding the loans to not clog up our hand. And we have already bought enough, so I do think that's the end of the turn. There would be a resting bonus if it would not be contested, but I'm not getting it. So again, no influence changes. Replenishing means this is now 1 gold. And we do reveal the chariot racing, which is an industry culture card that can ready an influence 2. And a catapult, that's a good combat card that allows us to attack enemies on adjacent spaces to your leader. So nice, but then again, we cannot just pick up everything. So I'm always also glad to see cards that we do not want to pick up. The farms are now both costing 2 or 3 for Augustus. And we could actually refresh now with a level 2 development, because we do have 5 developments already placed. And I do think I want to do that just to see it. So the first level 2 we're actually seeing is the Arc of Constantine, so military building for 14 cost, which has the ongoing Spoils of War ability that after successful conquer action allows me to discard a card for 2 gold, 2 additional gold. And the Fame Trader actually allows us to pay iron for gold as well. That's a really nice building, obviously, and it gives 2 power, which would increase our hand size. So that would be really nice. But I'm not sure that we have the gold to actually build this, and the military. Well, there should be military cards coming up. Really, really interesting development. Let's see if we stick with the plan to build these smaller buildings here, or if we now jump to level 2s right away. So after replenishing, we are drawing a long ship that we just bought. The other card that we bought, that gives us a lot of gold. A combat card, that's exactly the one we need to defeat this without strife. A culture card. And a chariot, that's more movement. I really want a higher hand limit, otherwise the big deck will get in our way. We're advancing the turn cube, and we are getting our trade income, which is food, water, and stone. And we can play our turn. The whole idea of this card was to use its effect to get a lot of gold. So let's first use the gazebo. This time I'm paying 2 water. I'm definitely getting stone because I'm behind here. Then getting 2 iron. And then we are using the artistry mingle combination again. We could think about using this artistry twice. So using this once, then using mingle to ready this, then do the other action, trigger this again. Then we can't ready it again, and this influence will actually be spent, but we will get it back. That's the point. So we will have an influence that we can actually spend somewhere else. But currently I do think I want to have it there because I don't see where I would use this influence. But nevertheless, we do use the artistry and ready it with mingle, which does mean 2 food or water we gain. I'm picking 2 food. And now I'm paying a stone for the empowered effect here. Pay a pair of same type resource to gain 1 gold. You may do this once for each of the 4 resource types. So 2 iron, 2 stone, 2 food, and 2 water for 4 gold, bringing it up to 5. That's such a nice card, if you have all the resources. I definitely think we should just pay 1 iron to play the show of force for 4 military. 3 defeats the enemy due to Agrippa, and the remaining 1 blocks the damage. That's no victory points and just 1 gold, but the enemy is defeated and the territory is now able to be developed. This again doesn't serve any purpose currently. We do not have any open trade slots. But we should think about if we can build with technology, and there are the farms that are technology. So that's 9 technology. We would need 10 to build both of them. And we do have a card that we could play face down. We would not move, but then again we would get the resting bonus of a food. I think that's fair enough. So maybe just building 2 farms now. We do have 6 gold. That's exactly what we need. So let's do this. Let's buy for 2 times 3 both farms. Then we are playing this face down for 1. Pay a food for additional 4. That's 5. And we pay an additional food for another 5. That's 10. These both need 5 because of Agrippa. So we can develop them both. Let's discard all this. But we do have the additional ability that you may take a loan, gaining 5 gold instead of 2. That's just so huge. Or return a loan. But at that point we have no gold, so I will pick up another loan. That's risky, but there are enough in the pile. And taking 5 gold again is just far too nice. And now we have to place those here. We want to place them adjacent usually, because they do have a combo if you ever want to do that. And I do think I want to go down here because there's almost no other... Well, actually we can place it here, getting another gold. And we can actually get the trade deal back. Maybe we should do that. So these 2 actually sound like the best idea, because this has already run its course, so we can get that back on by development. And then we can develop this here as well, getting us another gold. So we are at 6. I hope this was at 1. We do get 2 victory points as an immediate bonus and 2 wisdom, which does give us another influence, which is really nice. So we do have an influence left now. I feel like this is going quite well. And I feel like I should definitely buy this card here because it's 5 military, so why not? The Arch of Constantine will cost 1 less gold because it's going 2 spaces down, so that's 4 instead of 5. We do have 6, that's nice, so we can afford it. And if we draw enough military, we might even be able to place it. And the power would be really appreciated to draw 6 cards, because we are accumulating quite a deck here. But I don't think we should spend 3 more gold to buy the catapult as well. Let's just draw and see what happens. So let's end the turn here. We do get a resting bonus of 1 food. Due to the territory we are on, we do not get any influence back, and we replenish the market. So another combat card, a ballista, that gives military equal to twice your wisdom. So I'm at 2 now, that's 4. But at the end of the game it could be 10, that's nice. And it currently, without even powering, it would also be 4. There is a watchtower coming out. I just picked level 1 without thinking, but actually I'm happy about this now because it's also 2 power building that's really cheap, which means that maxing out the power track, if we get those 2 built, is actually quite achievable, and we have a hand limit of 8. That would be so nice. Actually, it's not maxing out right away. We would be at 7 hand limit or 4 power, but it's so nice. But I did not actually want to do that probably, but now it's revealed, and I'm happy about this. So maybe actually we should continue drawing level 1s because this is already a nice level 2. Yeah, actually we should probably go on with level 1s. There's not that much time left. We just have 2 turns left. So yeah, let's pick level 1s. So it's another farm, almost a blank at that point. Actually, maybe if you're going for farms, then the third one is actually quite good. But again, we have replenished the market. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's draw. Actually, let's see how many cards we do have in the deck. So it's actually 9, and we are drawing twice. So that's good. So we will see our deck if we are just adding 1 more card. Or if we increase the hand limit, we can add more. But let's draw 5. So the new card we just bought. The oxen. The Roman concrete. A physician. And a social event. So a lot of technology and culture, but unfortunately not much military. That's a problem. Okay, but after drawing, we now advance to turn cube. So it's the second to last turn. Next turn we are putting the cube on the 1 space, and once it reaches the 2 space, it's immediately over. We don't have any active projects, but we do have the 3 deals going on, so we do get a stone, a food, and a water. And we are in our 5th turn now. The best time for trade deals is obviously the beginning of the 3rd round, because it's running then for the 3rd and 4th round in total. The end of the 2nd is a bit of a letdown because the 2nd round is almost over. Maybe we should have actually pulled more level 2s because we do have a lot of culture. For military we only have this card, which is 5, which is exactly what we need to build the watchtower. So I do think we want to build that now. And I think if we place it here, it will actually serve a purpose as well, which would mean building this with this, probably moving with a card like this. The oxen unfortunately is quite useless because if we trash alone, actually if we trash 1, we do have 2 on the deck. So we can trash 1 from the discard pile to trash 1 from this pile here, but then we have just 1 here. So no more trashing unless we are paying other loans back first. And there's a loan on top, which just gave us the 5 gold. So maybe we should just do that, which would allow us to use the 4 technology to just take a short-term deal so we can develop over this right away. So at that point we should probably think about where the deals are that we want to have long running. And I think there's iron deals here available, but we have to cross the map for this. There's an iron deal here, but this is something that we want to develop. So maybe getting this short term is actually the way to go here, so they will all expire at the same time. And we will place the watchtower here so we can develop like this. And we don't have to go there as well. We could, of course, also just activate a long-term deal here and develop like this, because this gives a bonus anyway. And there's no reason to make it 2 iron. Even if we make it a long-term now, we will get the 2 iron and then actually all of those for the 7 turns of the 3rd round. It's still a lot of more iron. So I do think it would be stupid to just, because it just adds up, to make this. So we should really power this. All right, but I think we should try to execute the plan, which unfortunately means paying 4 gold for the watchtower, 3 plus 1, because of the City of Marble, and then pay food for 5 military. That's exactly what the watchtower needs. We are putting that here, so it actually fulfills a purpose if we influence it. That's 3 glory points, and more importantly 2 power, which brings the hand limit up to 6. And I do think we will use the 2 movement to actually move there, to put our influence here. To activate Vigilant, that's an on-influence ability. That means that adjacent enemies have their attack values reduced to 0, so it's just 2/4 enemies, so very easy to defeat. We should then use our combo here, so 1 food, 1 water for 2 iron and 2 stone, and we use again the mingle and the artistry to also get 2 food. And now we are paying 2 stone to trash a loan from our discard pile, which is this one here, which is the second to last loan from the pile. So unless we are starting to pay back loans, the oxen will no longer be that useful. Which does mean for food, we can now get 7 technology. That's a trade deal, any one that we want. And I do want to put that here to now also have an iron deal going. We get 1 right away, which leaves this card here. And let's see, how many do we have in the pile? So it's 4 only. Yeah, we already calculated that if we put 1 there, we can draw it. So we could even put 2 there and draw both of them. But currently we do just have 1 gold. That would be the portable abacus. This would allow us to ready influence. That's interesting. Actually, the watchtower, since we are sitting there, we could also use the trade to get a gold from 1 iron or 1 water, that would be really good, and just re-influence it the next turn. And with a card like this, you can actually use it one more time. But it would allow us to get 1 gold, then we have these cards available. And I would be really tempted to still try for the Ark of Constantine. We need 13, and I do think we have a good combat card that didn't come up yet. We do have the Legionary, but I don't think that's it. I think we bought something else. Yeah, there's only just 1 in there, and I believe there should be some other card coming up. But then again, the Catapult would just mean that we can defeat both enemies because of the Watchtower, so picking up the Catapult would be really good. But it's 3 gold. But let's flip this, so I do think that's a good idea to use this now. Pay 1 iron, get 1 gold. And we could pay 4 more iron to get another gold. We do need 4 gold for the Ark of Constantine, but then again, hopefully we can defeat these enemies. And we can use this again next turn. I think I want to try that, so let's exchange this for a gold. That's 3, pay all these 3 to get the Catapult. So nice combat card to the deck. We have this card left here, but it actually means that we can keep it. Because now we have 5 in the deck and we have a handlement of 6, so we will draw just everything. That's actually good, because moving away now is not a good idea, because we have to re-influence the Watchtower first. But I do think that's it for the turn then. There's no resting bonus, but we do get this influence back. Replenishing means the ballista goes here, and we do see the textile merchant, which is a good way to get a lot of industry. And let's just reveal another level 2. Not sure if this is useful for anything, but let's do it. So another military 2 power building, the Castra, which is much cheaper to build, but it costs 1 gold more. But it might be an option actually to also get the power track going. And it's actually a building that allows you to move quite quickly. Also, these military buildings all give iron. That's something that you should probably learn about the game. At least it seems like this to me currently, which is, if you have edicts like this, a good way to get resources without the trading, if you have an influence combination going on. All right, but that was the replenishing, so we are not drawing. We kept 1 card, so then this is the second then, it's the Catapult of course. Probatus is a combat card, but it's a starting card, that's not what I had in mind. A Strive card of course. Formation probably is the one that I had in mind, it's up to 8 military, that's so nice. And a Shepherd, that's movement also. Movement to another card, but also giving industry, interesting. But these are the 6 hand cards, because we have a limit of 6 now. We advance to turn cube, so it's now on the 1 space, so the 6th turn. And we do get our income, and at that point it's a food, a water, an iron and a stone, so 1 of everything. That's so nice. And that's the final turn of round 2 then. This again we probably use for movement, because there's not much with culture that came up. So it could be something that we use with the Shepherd. The Strive of course is not interesting, but we could use culture. I just talked about culture to actually return the Strive card. That's something that we could consider. The problem now is that we do not have gold currently, and to get to the Ark of Constantine we need 4. For the Castra we need 5. We can actually use the Catapult to kill without moving at least 1 enemy. We do not even need to power this, so we can just kill either of them. We have to influence the Watchtower to not get a backlash. Still, I don't think that changes anything. It's just you may attack an enemy, but you will still need to deal with the attack, but the Watchtower disables this. So with this and the Watchtower we will have 4 gold. Then it's 8, it's 12. It's almost, I think we can do it. So I do think I will just play the Catapult for 3 military. You may attack 1 enemy in a space adjacent to your leader, that's this. Due to Agrippa, it is only 3, so it's defeated. And the attack of 3 is ignored because of the Watchtower. Enemies adjacent to the Watchtower have attack values reduced to 0. So that's 1 glory point and 3 gold. Then we spend the influence on the Watchtower. We pay a water to gain 1 gold. At that point we should probably use this combination again. So once per turn we pay a food for 2 iron. We then use the artistry to also gain, let's say, 2 food. Dispense this influence, but I do think I want to use the mingle again to ready it. Then we use the gazebo again to pay 1 food to get 2 more iron. But I really should not use this now. I should probably spend this once we can actually re-influence this. So I'm leaving it at that, then like the usual way do we do it. But now we can pay the 4 gold to actually access the Ark of Constantine. And we need 13 military. So 1 iron means 4. 1 iron on food means it's another 8. That's 12. So at that point we are using this face down for 13. And that's enough to build this. I do think I want to overbuild here. It's just 1 water that we are missing then. Actually it's not, because we are only in the last turn, so we would not get that. Yeah, so it's actually quite good. We place that here. That's 9 glory points. So we had 33 and 2 more power. So we had a 7-hand limit. That's so nice. And this is all used. And now we do use our last water for 4 culture. We do not get any bonus, but spend 4 culture to return this card. So we did get rid of 1 strife, and that's it pretty much. We do not have any gold left. We already used this, so I don't think there's any other gold source. We don't have 4 here to exchange. There's nothing else to buy, but I don't think we need all this like necessarily. All right, so that's it then. We would get a resting bonus, and we of course get our influence back. But again, I haven't checked that yet, but I don't think we will replenish the market. And of course we will not draw because the turn cube will hit the 2 and it's finishing the round anyway. And I don't think it's supposed to reveal anything that's then just cycled right away. But that's the end of round 2. That went really, really well, I think. I think we are quite on track for a lot of things. So we have 1 maxed out already, 1 is almost maxed out. And if we get stability and or capacity, because we can convert that, we have fulfilled this. The 9 cards we probably already have. As I said, it doesn't seem like a big deal. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we are not even halfway through the deck. 10, 11. So it's 11 cards after the second round. So that doesn't sound like hard to achieve. Build at least 2 level 2 developments. Well, we already built 1, and it's the end of the second round. Strife cards, we just removed 1. So how many are there actually? There's 2 loans, 1 strife, another strife, another loan. So it's 3 loans, 2 strife, I think. That's not a big deal. 8 developments not adjacent to the capital. We are currently at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 2 more and it's also fulfilled. And then it's really just the resources here. And we are now entering the third round where the trade deals are actually ramping up. And I think if we get another food deal, we will have enough food and we can convert this to iron with the gazebo. So I think we are quite on track, to be honest. All right, let's do the shuffling as the last thing. Advanced round marker cube 1 space. So now we would have access to level 2s anyway. And this is reset to the first turn, of course. We cycle all developments and attribute cards. And I do think, since I have bought 11 and cycled at least 1, we will see all the cards. Not necessarily now, but as said in the beginning, there are only 12 cards that you do not see automatically, and we already cycled or bought 12 cards. So these are level 1s. Castra is a level 2. For the advanced attribute cards, we have the public clearance. That's a lot of culture again. The astronomy is a gold card, so you place it in your projects area, and when you build a development, you may pay 1 resource of the color that corresponds with the development to gain 2 gold. Or you can just spend 2 influence on developments that provide wisdom and get the gold in this way. Show Mercy is a culture card that can allow you to trash strife. We do have quite a large pile yet of strife, so that might be a way to get rid of this. But then again, we might start taxing because it's just 5 gold and we have full population anyway. So maybe we will get more strife cards. But we can also trash strife with the hearty meal here. The battering ram is a combat card, and you could get stone by strife cards from your hand. And the Indo-Roman trade means that you can swap out 5 resources with other 5, or it's a huge attribute card because you can discard any number of cards of the same color to gain the attribute corresponding with the color times 5. So you could get up to, with a higher hand limit, up to 20, 25, 30, whatever, if you have all of them of the same color, of course. But I think realistically you will get 2 or 3 of the same color. That's 10 or 15. It's already huge. For developments, the question what do we reveal now? And I do think I want to start with a level 2 because it's quite cheap to build or to get, and we will see if it's easy to build as well. So there's the Castra again, so another version of this. I do think I want to reveal another. There's a temple. That's much more interesting because it's 1 stability, 1 wisdom, and it's not hard to build with a lot of technology, and it can influence adjacent developments. So that's quite combo heavy. Actually, putting this here would be so insane because it does allow me to pay 1 iron to get a gold, so it's a gold engine. And if adjacent to level 2 development, which it then would be, you can pay 4 same type resources for 2 golds. So this is actually the perfect place for this. And I do think I will just continue with level 2s. Another temple. Interesting. It's good for our bonus tracks because we do need to max out others as well. A forum, that's interesting because it's capacity, which means that if we use the stability to max out or to shift this, then with this, the capacity is actually easy to max out. And a Temple of Bacchus is 2 wisdom, also appreciated. It's more influence. So I really like them, and I feel like these numbers are not that high. 10, 11, 11, 10. We already built 14 military, and I do think we have a lot of technology cards, so these temples should not be a big deal. All right, but it was cycling, so we exhaust the expired trade agreements. So this goes to the middle. This is flipped. This is flipped. These are the two new ones. This we already gained back by developing over it. So that's the last one that was already active. Here we had a short term that was already replaced. So we do have one token back currently and one influence. And that's it with the end of the round. And of course we have to shuffle, draw a hand. We are not paying for active projects, of course, but we will get the income from our trade deals, which is a food and an iron currently. The rest unfortunately expired. So let's give us a food and an iron. So no more water, but we can activate a water deal right there. Of course, we can also use the artistry to get a water. All right, let's cut the deck and draw a first hand of 7. There's a catapult. Nice, we can just kill without going there. That's so huge. Onaga, okay, starting card. Mercuralia, starting card. Show force. Then our Princess Civitatis. That allows us to pretty much pick any development we like. That's so huge. Nice, so that's 5. Civil War, unfortunately. And we actually cannot take a loan. And a formation. But again, we are quite lucky that we do have to show force. So you must play this card immediately. Discard a red card. Otherwise, discard 2 cards. So I do think I will just discard a Civil War. Then we are back at 5 cards. So this turned out quite well. I don't think we need a loan currently. Probably we are starting to tax. All right, we already took our income, so we are now in the action phase. And I do think it would be stupid not to just play the catapult. Do we need more military? That's a question here. We could empower this. But I do think we could empower this later. There's no new information being revealed. But for 3, attacking an adjacent enemy, actually we would have to influence the watchtower first to avoid the attack. But with the Agrippa, it's only having 3, so 3 is enough to kill it. That's 1 glory point. And we are getting 2 gold. Actually, with the Arc of Constantine, we could get even more gold. But we don't have the influence yet, and we would have to move. So nothing we can get now, but 2 gold is appreciated. We should then do this combo here. And we should think about if we want to get some influence back at that point. We do need 2 more wisdom to reach another influence, which would be the Temple of Bacchus, which we could buy with this one here. But we would probably take it to hand. With a 7 hand limit, I think blocking 1 space is good because it doesn't cost us gold. And I do want another influence. So actually the temple would give us the influence that we need right away. But I do want to place a usual temple here for this influence combination. So maybe we put it like just here to get these trade tokens back. That would mean we would play this to get access to the Temple of Bacchus. This we might hold on to because it's 4 of the 14 or 13 we need. That's a bit of a waste then because we do not currently need military unless we are building the castra because it's almost a castra. But let's do this once here. So for a food we are getting, for example, 2 iron. We then use this. Let's flip it this time to also get 2 water. So we are not dry here. I think the main part of this combination here is that we can turn food and water into iron and stone at a ratio of 2 to 1. We don't need this, but it would get us the food or water back. That's the nice thing here. But it costs 2 influence to get this running or to keep this running. I do think we want to place these influence somewhere else. For example, influencing this before we kill all those would probably be a good idea. So I do think I want to get them back now. Which does mean I'm using this again, probably for a food then. No, let's pick a water and let's pick 2 stone here. Then we are readying this, or we could have readied this before and spending it again to get another 2 water. And I do think at that point I will just spend this to produce a water. So we are getting these 2 influence back. I will then spend this and pay a water to get a gold. And then pay the 3 gold to pick up the castra. And with an iron and a food, that's 8. That's 9 if you play this face down. I will just play this. I think I will put it here for the immediate bonus of 2 iron. Get 7 glory points and 2 power, which maxes out this track, and we are now at an 8 hand limit. Which does mean I cannot use this now, but I don't have to. I have a high enough hand limit. And I haven't got my influence back yet, so I think I don't need to move. So at that point, I think I'm just staying where I am. I'm not buying anything, and I'm just seeing what happens, I think. So, there's no resting bonus, but we do get a lot of influence back. So that's 3 influence. Replenishing means these all move down 1, which makes the Temple of Bacchus cheaper. And we have the Maison Carré. That's also 2 wisdom. But then we draw up to 8 cards now. Drive, Physician starting card. But it's also technology if we want for building the temple. Social event, it's the culture card. Galea, which is also a lot of technology. So I think building temples now is more and more likely. So that's 6. The legionary, it's a combat card. Currently not that needed, I think. And a starting physician, so another one. So these are 8 cards. We advance to turn cubes. We are on a second turn now. no active projects, and we only get an iron and a food. So 1 iron and food from the trade deals. So we should probably get trade deals going and not concentrate too much on the temple. We are only in the second turn. So we could use this to pay back 1 strife. But I do think I want to start taxing. So we should move. But then again, do we need to tax if we can re-influence these with a temple? It's a 4 to 2 gold conversion, unfortunately, so we need a lot of resources for this. I think taxing is probably the easiest way to go. So I do think I want to influence the watchtower since I'm currently here. I do want to influence the capital and I do want to influence the temple. But maybe the influence here is then not a good idea. Well, it doesn't matter actually. It's actually the same ability, it's just more flexible here in the watchtower. Oh, it's actually and. Oh my god, I misplayed that. That's a huge mistake. It's not more flexible, it's actually worse. This might screw this completely. But we could have gotten more water instead of food. Oh, it's bad to reconstruct this. I think I used it at least twice or 3 times. I did pay water sometime. I think I have to look that up. Otherwise, it's hard to go on from this point. Why did I not read that properly, unfortunately? Actually, it's a watchtower's level 1 building, so this level 2 should be better. I have more than enough iron, so if I paid water, it's probably not a big deal to just subtract that, but I think I have to look that up. I don't think I can just continue like this. So I did look through the material, and I think we can fix it. It's not trivial, but it should be possible. It's a bit hard to track without the proper post-production, so later when I cut it, it will be much easier, and I will try to make it quite visible whenever we should have done something differently in the video and how to fix this. But the good news is that we used it twice with water, once with iron, and we could have always just paid the iron for the 2 water, so I'm subtracting 2 iron. For the uses where we activate this with water, we used it once with iron, which would cost us a water. This is a bit more problematic because the water was at 0 at some point, but I do believe that at that point the food was always at 2 and never dipped below this, and we picked food over water 1 time. So we could have picked water to prevent it dipping below 0, and then later we could have produced food instead of water once. So it cancels out, and I think we can just pay it. So we did pay the 3 resources that we skipped, and this should fix it. And I will continue from now on with this fix, and then in post-production make it clear how this would have worked. But I hope this salvages the game, and these changes were obvious to do, because the latest when I used this the first time I should have noticed that water is important, and at that point going for water over food would have made more sense. And when using these abilities I even say something like, oh, let's go for food, so we could have easily gone for water at that point since we noticed that we do need the water. I'm still not fond of these kind of mistakes, but at least with recording on video I can fix them and I will try to do so. I really do not want to taint this game in any way or form, but I hope if I did not make any other mistakes of this category that this will be a valid run for me still. Now that we have this fixed, let's get back into the game. We were discussing if it's good to influence the watchtower or if it's better to keep this for the Arch of Constantine, because we do want to influence the capital and tax it, and we do want to place a regular temple to influence these 2, and we want to activate the spread influence, of course. So this is why we need 3 influence here, and we just clarified that this is a much more efficient ability. It makes sense, of course, because the exchange is 4 to 1 of the same resource for 1 gold, and usually the cards here allow you to get a gold for 2 resources, so increasing the ratio like drastically, and getting 1 gold for 1 resource is just insanely good. So we are not influencing the watchtower, we don't need the vigilant, of course. We do currently not have gold, so we should probably tax to get gold, and we did want to work on trade deals as well, so we should see how we want to spend our technology, especially if we want to also build temples that also need technology. So we do have 1 card for 7 here, 1 for 4, and then 2 more for 3. A temple needs 10. That would, for example, be 7 and 3, which would leave 7, which is a good combination for a trade deal. Seeing that there is a food and a water deal for 6, 6 would actually be enough, which could mean that we are actually not powering this. So it's 5, and we just play another card face down if you want to. Of course, we could also remove a strife card, and we do have the legionary left here. We are currently not battling, and we are not planning to build a military building. So I do think we probably have to use this for movement. But then again, with 2 movement, we would not even reach the arch if we are going for the temple. Actually, we do not need to reach it, because if we influence the temple, we can influence the arch right away. That's really nice. So that is probably spent for movement. This could take care of the strife, and then we would have enough for a trade deal and for a temple. So let's start executing this. 2 movement, paying 1 to reach the capital, going there, but taxing. which means that we get a strife and then 1 gold per population. We are at 5, so we get 5 gold. That's so nice. I do think we just continue movement just to make a bit room here. We wouldn't need to continue right away. So we're moving into the territory where we do want to build a temple. We then have to spend the water for the physician to get up to 3. And this would only get us to 6, no, to 5. That's the problem. And for a permanent deal, we need 6 or 7, which does make it a bit inefficient. But I do think we should do that. Seeing our stack of cards here, we should really play our cards. So let's also spend the food. It's quite expensive, but now we are at 7 technology. We do have 1 trade token left currently, so we really have to build over this. But for now, we want to get a trade deal going. And I do need food, obviously. So let's go for a food deal here. And we get 1 food immediately. Actually, that might be a mistake if we want to power these 2. And we do have to power both. So actually, maybe a water deal is better for the time being. Let's do that. So let's pay, no, not pay, but get a water deal instead. So we get a water instead of food. So we put that here. And now we do have all the resources we need to actually power all this. But that would mean that we cannot use this now. And we do not have the artistry anymore, which might have been a mistake. We should probably delay the plan for a turn because we do get the food and the water with the running deals. So we can boost this next turn. But then we would not get the gold from the iron, nor from, for example, for stone. No, I don't want to delay it. So we are spending a water and a food for 10 technology. And we are paying 3 gold. I don't think I want to use this now to pick up a temple. And for 10 we are placing it. That was the whole point. So we do get 5 glory points. A stability, which gives us the 5th trade deal. And a wisdom, which does not have an immediate impact. We then influence the temple, which would allow us to later use the boosted action of a red card twice if you pay water. But I'm not interested in this, but I want the spread influence, which means once per turn, influence up to 2 adjacent developments, which includes the capital, just to make it clear. So currently these are already influenced and we cannot refresh with this. So we are using this now to also influence the Arch of Constantine, but this incentivizes us to use at least 2 of the neighboring influences. And if we just leave that here, we can just always re-influence them, which does mean using this. So for 1 iron, getting 1 gold, and then using this, if adjacent to a level 2 development, which we are now with the temple, pay 4 same type resources to gain 2 gold. So we are using 4 stone for another 2 gold. That's so nice. We do use the last water to get 4 culture without any movement point to repay this strife or to return it to the pile, which does leave this card. And as said, I do want to just keep this because I currently do not need this. Well, actually we could, instead of leaving, well, we should probably draw cards and then replace it with another card. I was arguing that if it takes up a hand slot, we can instead have this in the hand and just already pick a building. But then again, we should probably see what's being refreshed, what cards we draw, and then see what we actually want. And the card slot is spent either way. But we should probably pay gold now to pick up more cards. And this is just like a really good gold card. And this at least gives me 6 if these 2 are influenced. I could bring it up to 7 if I also influence this, which does mean it's a good culture card. But currently we do not have culture buildings. So I'm not sure I want to pick that up, but I do probably want to pick that up. It will pay for itself, so to speak, and in the last round it will be net positive. But we could also just hold picking up cards and just save the gold. And maybe that's also a plan. Maybe I want to try that. I think I'd rather go on with building buildings and see what happens. All right, let's do it like this. Let's end the turn here. We don't get a resting bonus, but we do get our influence back. We replenish the market, which is only the developments because we did not buy anything. And I do want to stick with level 2s here. And there is the first culture building, which is the amphitheater. It gives stability. And if we place it beside a development that provides population, which are these here, which without battling them is really hard because this is a running deal, which I do not want to build over. And these are deals that we did not even start, but maybe the stone deal we do not even want. So maybe we could place it here. We can pay 1 water to gain 3 stone up to twice per turn. And we can ready adjacent influence. I'm not sure about this, that it is so useful currently. So that's replenishing. We draw again up to 8 now alone. Then the card that gives us gold if we pay pairs of resources, but we really have to get the food and water going again. We lost this once we put the influence on different places here. We can also use this to ready, of course, as long as it's all connected. So that might also be a play. Another loan, a strife, a starting card. So that's 6. discipline, that's the starting card that gives you an arbitrary attribute points, and a chariot, which is technology or movement. At that point, I'm thinking about a turn where we might even pay back loans and continue taxing, so converting them to strife. But we have to keep this in mind that we have to end with 3 strifes only. But after drawing, we advance to turn cube, so we are on turn 3 of round 3 now. We have no active projects, but we do get a food, a water, and an iron. So at least we have 1 of everything, but we do need to get more water or food, and the insular on influence allows us to turn 1 stone into 3 water. I do think we should get the artistry going again to actually stock up on food and water. I think that's just far too good. And we do need 4 movement to get back into battling. So I'm tempted to pay this food here with the chariot to actually get movement 4. So the regular 2 movement plus 2, which then means spending 1 to go here to the gazebo to influence this again, because it's a source of iron and stone to trigger this. Then move another time to the sculpture to also influence this. It's now adjacent to a building with industry cost. So draw 1 card. So we are drawing, and we do have an engineer. That's welcome. Then we are moving on to the insula to also influence this. Then we are paying 1 stone to get 3 water. That's so good, the running water. We are then paying 1 water to get 2 stone, using the socialize, which triggers the artistry. So we are getting 2 food. We are then using the mingle ability to ready this. Use this again for a water. We are getting 2 iron, which means we can use this again to get 2 more food. We then use the hearty meal to trash a strife, which does mean trashing 1 more from the reserve. So that's 2. We are then using this. If adjacent to a level 2 development, pay 4 same type resources to gain 2 gold. So we are paying 4 iron to get 2 gold. Then we are spending this for producing, which is a stone and an iron. And finally, we use this starting from the space your leader is currently on, ready any number of influence as long as the next one readied is adjacent to the previous one. So we are readying this, readying this, readying this, and readying this. So the full chain. And at this point, I do think I want to pay 3 gold to repay 1 loan. So there are 2 on the pile again, so we can trash 1. At that point, I'm thinking if I'm going to continue and start fighting again, or if I just use the capital to tax and be happy with this. But we do have to keep the strife cards under check. So we have 1 currently in the discard. I have no idea how many are on the deck. I should know that, but I don't. And if we stay here, we can at least produce water for stone by re-influencing this. And we can trash more strife cards. I think I will stay here for the time being. So let's get rid of this card, which we played for movement. I should probably play another card. So let's play this one here for a stone, which means that we can purchase a card for exactly 2. And I will buy the temple here, which usually costs 4, because it will max out the wisdom and we get 2 more influence chips. That's the idea here, but I keep them in hand for the time being. We do also get 4 industry, which does allow us to cycle. And I do think I argued against this because it will net us 2 gold at most. It will just be 1 more card in the deck. The forum can actually be quite useful to swap out resources against others, but it's only 2 same type against 4 different. So maybe that's not helpful for reaching these goals. I do think I want to get rid of this. If I'm not picking it up, it should be gone. So I'm lacking 1 industry. And at that point, I do think I will just get rid of the discipline face down. So that's another industry. So we are also cycling this here, which does mean I'm holding on to this. I'm holding on to the engineer to actually build it. This could actually be also a source to actually maybe you should just play that. But I do have I've played a lot of cards. I'm only in turn 3, so they have 4 more turns to come. So we should really play slower, it seems. Maybe we should just hold on to this. We'll still draw 4 cards. But then again, the loan, there might be something that we want to just discard. Yeah, there's currently none in the discard pile. I don't think it's a big deal. If we draw the oxen, we can just trash it from the discard pile. So I do like this. I just picked up this. I should not buy anything before they are moved down. So we are just ending the turn. We do not have a resting bonus, but we should probably spend influence. We definitely should do that because we are currently at a side which we can just re-influence. So we should spend this. We already used the mingle one, so that's not a reason not to spend it first. We can now get a water or trash a strife, which we do not have, so let's just get a water. This we can also just re-influence, but then we could influence the capital and this once we have more influence chips. And we can only influence 2. We could use this to turn iron into gold. I think I will just do that. Might be a mistake, but I do think I want to discuss politics which means that if it's adjacent to a level 2 development, pay for same type, which is iron again, to get 2 gold. Because I do need gold, and I do not just want to pile up strife cards, even though taxing is quite nice. But it means that we are getting those back. Reasoning again being that we can't place it here without visiting, and these 3 we can place because of the temple, so this is also the reason why we should not use this. And once we build this, we will have this maxed out and get 2 more influence. At that point we are really skyrocketing, I think. Replenishing the market. There's a water wheel coming up, which gives a lot of technology. And banking, which allows us to return loans from hand or discard pile at a cost of 1, or it's a lot of industry. And we can turn industry into gold whenever we are at a site that costs industry for 1 full round, basically. The developments we also refresh with level 2, which is the Circus Maximus, which is an industry building that produces food and water. That's quite interesting. And we can turn 2 stone into 1 gold, and we can spend food to gain stone equal to twice our stability. Interesting, but nothing I will build right away. We then draw. Since we have 3 cards in hand, we will draw 5 more. So the Shepherd, industry card, which is good for movement as well. The Oxen, a Merchant, which is a starting industry card. The Art, okay, so 1 more, which is a loan. Let's place this somewhere else, maybe on the leader, so we can have some room for a large hand size. So after drawing the advance to turn cube, we are now in turn 4 of round 3. No active projects, because we did not put it into active area. And the active agreements mean 1 iron here, 1 food here, 1 water there. All right, next turn. The problem with the Oxen is I would really like to power this, but I do not want to pay 3. But the technology would be welcome to actually build this, because it's 13, because of Agrippa, for Augustus. We would have 4 here, but that's pretty much it actually. So maybe it's not a good time to actually build this. But I definitely want to influence the gazebo again to get this going. Unfortunately, we only have 1 influence then left, and we should really put that where we are to trigger running water again. Pay 1 stone, get 3 water. This gives us a lot of water so that we can use this here and not food. For the socialize, I mean. So we should use the socialize once. For water we get iron. And then we trigger this here and use the once per turn mingle ability to just ready it again to also gain 2 food. And I feel like I should use it again. So the socialize with water to get 2 stone. And then use a food to power the oxen with 3 stone. Because it does mean pay 3 stone to trash up to 2 loans in your hand. I don't need to, so I'm trashing 1. I have to trash also 1 from the pile, but there's 1 left because we repaid a loan. But then we do have 5 technology, so another card played face down will provide us with 6, so we can get another food deal going. And I do think we should do that now so that we actually can reach this goal here. This seems much easier because we can produce a lot of iron with water from the socialize. So one of these cards, and I'm tempted to use the merchant's plate face down, which brings this up to 6 technology, and we do place our last trade deal on this food deal here, which gives us another food immediately. At that point we can think about converting stability to capacity to get 3 gold. But then again, if we build over this, for example, we get a token back right away that we can place somewhere else if we free up these deals here. But there's a food deal still here. So I'm tempted to just build over this and then get this going right away. So I don't want to shift, which means that we should probably use the gold ability here. I think I will use this for movement then. That's 2. Again, gain +2 movement on a card played for movement, where we don't have any stone left, unfortunately. So I do think I will use this because I have already used socialize twice to just produce stone. We don't want to always get more gold and reducing our resources again, because we really have to get going with this. So I'm producing a stone. I'm using it right away for 6 industry and 2 movement on another card. And again, it doesn't matter, at least in this turn, if in which order you have to do this, if you can retroactively add +2, which it sounds like, or if this is a lingering effect that triggers once you do it for movement. We haven't moved yet, so we will have 4 movement and we'll have 6 industry, which does mean that I can move here for 1. Now I am on a development that provides stability, so I can spend these 6 for 3 gold, essentially. That's the free ability. This we already paid, so this is now all taken care of, and we have 3 movement left. Actually, when we got this stone, I want to trigger this again because I'm currently here and I just do want more food. But then again, I'm not sure this is useful if we are getting a second food deal or even a third running food deal. This is still running. Then maybe we have enough food already, so we don't need to do this. So we should really play this soon. So I do feel like we have too much movement anyway. Yeah, I do think I will just move back here, leave it at that. So that's this card here. hold on to these cards. I do really want to put that out, so I think I will just get the water wheel for 3 gold to make sure that I can actually build this next turn. And I do think I also want to pay 2 more gold to get this, because trading really makes these golds much easier. And maybe we just leave it at that. I think I'm on the right track here. But we can then use this again, because we are staying here anyway to re-influence. So we're using the influence to get a water. And that's the turn then. No resting bonus. We do get our influence back. We replenish the market, so this slides down. The wine merchant is a good industry card, and the imperator is a really good card for getting gold if you are going on conquests. Gain 2 gold after every successful conquer action. At round end you must pay 1. But if you are conquering 3, for example, it's 6 gold, you pay 1, it's 5 net gold. If you combine this with the Arch of Constantine, where you can also discard a card for gold, it's really a gold mine, but I do think gold is no longer a problem for me currently. There's nothing else to refresh, so we are drawing. So we are drawing 6 cards in total. It's almost our deck. So the trade we just bought, the water wheel we just bought. There's the pottery, so a standard card. A long ship, which is technology. A show of force is a standard card. And a senator is one of the standard cards. We advance the cube, so we're on turn 5 now. No active projects, but we do get food, water and iron. So 2 food, 1 water, 1 iron. And we can play our 5th turn. And at that point I want to pay 3 food to work on Trajan's market. And I want to pay 4 iron to also work on Via Appia. So these, I can't do more than 1 per turn. So we should at that point look for technology cards to finally play this temple. So let's put that here. That would be 4, but it would cost 2 resources. That's 8 for 2 resources. And the longship is another 5 for 1. And it does have the ability that we can return a loan from the discard pile for 2 gold. I'm putting that on the top just that we know that we have one. So let's see, we need 13. 8 and 5 is exactly 13. So we should do that. That's 2 food, then the water to boost this. And that's then 13. Then we can place this and get our trade token back. That's 8 glory points, which brings us to 54. So 50 and another 4. 2 wisdom brings this to the maximum, which gives us the last 2 influence tokens that we can get. So this is completely taken care of. We can now repay the loan from the discard pile for 2 instead of 3. So we add 0 gold then, but the loan is repaid. This takes care of the long ship. We can then use the temple's spread influence to influence the gazebo again, and either the Arch of Constantine or the capital. Currently I am leaning towards the Arch of Constantine. We then use the socialize to turn 1 water into 2 stone, which triggers the artistry, so we can get 2 food. I will definitely influence the insula again. We pay 1 stone to get 3 water. Then we use mingle once a turn ready and influenced on adjacent development. So we are readying this. Then we are using this again. For water we get 2 iron. We trigger this again. We are getting 2 food. We are then using the trade to pay up to 5 resources to gain 5 resources. So we are turning 5 water into 5 iron. And at that point I don't think we need to take any haste. I think we can just end the turn here. There's nothing much we want to do. We don't have any gold. I currently don't want any gold, to be honest. We can use this again because we are currently here, which does mean we get a water. We can also use these because we can re-influence them. So I will produce 2 iron, which does mean I'm also using this to convert 4 same type resources into 2 gold. And that's that. So we don't have a resting bonus, but we do get our influence back. We didn't even spend our influence. That's a bit sad, but I would have to move for this, I think. So let's just make this a stack. That's 5, because we do have a total of 6, and there's 1 on the temple that I want to leave there. There's nothing to replenish on the market. We do draw. Actually, this cuts our round short. This I did not anticipate. That's a bit sad. Maybe I do not want to do this. This is the only hole in my strategy to just end the game in the 3rd round, I think, that I cannot actually, with a hand limit of 8, I cannot actually play all the turns I would have. Currently I would have 2 more turns, and if I'm drawing this now I will have only 1 turn left. And in 1 turn I cannot win, so there are 2 cards. I could get more gold by moving, so maybe let's undo this. I think this was, well, they have to be spent, otherwise I would not get them back. But I do have this left, so I do think I want to spend 1 card for movement, to move to the capital, to also influence this. That's 2 movement. Then we pick a strive by spending this 2 tax, which means 1 gold per population. We have 5, that's 5 gold, so we are at 7. Let's see, now we have 2, 5, so we need 3 more cards for 8 and 4 more cards to have another turn, which does mean that I have to do an exchange here, unfortunately, to get another gold. But now I have 8 gold, which if I spend them all, I can buy these for 3, these for 5, so I can buy these 4 cards here. I will draw them anyway, so they are all on top, order doesn't matter. But that's the turn then finally. We do get the influence back. We do replenish the market, now there's something to replenish. Fur Trader, the Mancho, 10 Leather, so we are looping around finally it seems, and the Musician. Then we draw the new hand, and now that we should have 6 cards in here, yes, but we draw only 5, so it's not the last turn. And we do get the Wine Merchant, the Battering Ram, the Show Mercy and the Banking, and an Orator, which is a starting card. But the important part was that we are not screwing ourselves by getting too much power and cycling too fast through the deck. So the advance to turn cube, which means it's the second to last, because next time we will be on the 2 spot, and then the round 3 ends once we enter the 3 spot. We do get resources from the active agreements, which is food, water, and iron. So 2 food, 1 water, 1 iron. Now we are in a turn, and we definitely use 4 food to work on Trajan's Market, and we use 6 iron to work on Via Appia. We are using the temple to influence the Arch of Constantine and the gazebo. We are using 1 water for 6 culture, but also to trash a strife from the discard pile. So another from the reserve. That's 2 more on the discard. They would have 6 culture now, but I don't think it's important. We're using pottery to move. We are still at 2 movement, but it's not a problem because we are moving to sculpture for 1. Influence this. We do draw a card, but I don't believe that ends the round. We are moving on to the Insula to influence this. We are paying a stone for 3 water. And then we are using the gazebo, so the socialize, to turn 1 water into 2 iron. We then trigger sculpture and use mingle to gain 2 food. Then we turn another water into 2 iron using the socialize, and we again use the artistry to gain 2 food. Then we are using the Arch of Constantine to produce 2 iron. We are then playing 3 more cards for movement. That's 6 movement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Influence this and spend it for 2 more iron. And at that point we just don't care anymore. To be honest, we do not even need to do this. So this turn ends. We do get our influence back. We could spend more influence, but I don't think I want to do that. It's just complicating things. We could actually have initiated another trade deal if we want to. Actually, why not? We just pay this, place the last trade deal here, and get another food. There's nothing to replenish. We advance the turn cube, and it's the last turn then. We should have drawn, which might end the round. So the rules say draw back up to your hand limit as determined by your power bonus track. If you do not have enough cards in your deck to fill your hand, draw as many as you can. This means that your next turn will be the last turn of the round. This is why we made sure that we have 1 card left. So even if you can draw enough cards for your hand limit, if it's then empty, this will be the last turn. So this was not the last turn. Now we can't draw, but that's not a problem since we could advance the cube to the 2 space. So this is the last turn. We do have a turn with these 3 cards. We do get a final time our income. That would be 3 food because we have 3 active food deals. So we would actually be at 9. We do get another iron from the still running iron deal. And we do actually get a water. But at that point, once the turn starts, we are paying 9 iron and 6 food to put a cube here. And this we don't need anymore to put a cube here. And at that point, we, I think, just check the victory condition. I don't think there's any specific end of the game. Unless you played your last turn of the last round or something like this. But I do think you just win once you have all your edicts together. So let's see. We obviously placed all the resource markers. So these are fulfilled. Then we have to look into our deck, how it actually fares here. Let's say this is our hand if we want to play anything. And then just split the deck into the respective categories. So the cards we gained, the starting cards. So these are the 16 starting cards. These are the attribute cards we gained. There's 1 strife. So I have a maximum number of 3 strife in your deck at the game end. So let's put 1 here again. So this edict we did succeed in. Build at least 8 developments not adjacent to the capital. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we built a total of 12, but 4 are adjacent. So that's 8 which are not adjacent. And we obviously also paid all this. So this edict is taken care of. Build at least 2 level 2 developments. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 level 2s. That's more than enough. And the rest is an alternative. So we also take care of this. Max out at least 3 of your leader bonus tracks. We have maxed out power, population, and wisdom, and have at least 9 attributes, advanced attributes in your deck at game end. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And I don't think that's actually a limit or something like this. We could have gotten much more. So this also takes care of this edict. So 2 of those are actually full edicts. 2 are half, and the largest ones are those here with the 18, so we have to reach 36 victory points. We do lose 2 because of the strife card we have, so we are back to 52, but 52 is far larger than 36, which means that we just win the game. Just barely in the last turn of the 3rd round, but we did not even need the last round. Alright, so what this means is that I could of course have gone on playing and pretty much plastered the whole map with level 2 developments, for example. Gone on conquest here, maybe with the Imperator card to get more and more and more gold. We do have 5 population, so we can tax as much as we want. But the problem with Rome, so to speak, if you want to call it a problem, is that once you have reached your edicts, everything else you're doing is literally pointless. Because, well, you could get points, so maybe it's not literally pointless. But unless you're wanting to keep score here, there's no reason to really go on at that point. And I did have to battle the turn rules. So to actually play the last turn, we must not exhaust our deck. I do think that's an odd rule. At least if you can draw the cards, if there's none left, you can just buy new cards in your turn and we will have a deck again. So I'm not sure this is a good rule to limit it like this. So we did have to get another exchange to get enough gold to buy more cards, which also means that getting more power can actually penalize you if you're playing too fast. It's an interesting dynamic to manage how many cards you have in the deck, especially with loan and strife cards, which also enlarge your deck. But again, we got rid of pretty much everything. We have trashed a lot, as you can see, but there's 1 loan card here, no, actually 2. We could have actually trashed 1 more from the deck if we had one. And there's a lot of strife cards left already. So we did clean everything out. So there's just 1 left. It's just 1 point penalty. So we are still over 50 points. That's more than enough. Maybe not if you are playing hard, because then you would have to reach the combined total of all the cards, which would be 28 and 27, so that's 54. But then again, we would have more than enough time to build any of these other buildings, so that's again 9 points per building, so I don't think that's a big deal. But it is interesting that the difficulty before expert actually has a much higher victory point limit. And I'm not sure if turning 1 edict to its full side is actually compensating for this, because then you need less points, but you have to do something else here on the full side. And let's quickly check. This would have been 5 level 2 developments, and I had 4 already. So again, I'm in the 3rd round, so it's no problem whatsoever to get to 5. So that I could have done this. And I think clearing the last strife card and actually going for this would also have been possible, to be honest. That would be 4 full edicts. So maybe I'm not getting something, but I do think if you are optimizing a lot, it's actually not that hard to play this game, even on the expert level. Please correct me if I have any rule mistakes, and I do really regret that I made this mistake here, but I think it's fixable. You can see this, or you will have seen it in the video. Once I edit it, I will point it out, how this is possible. I hope I did not misplay anything else. Please point that out. I think one of the major differences to Mage Knight is that both games are escalating, both are snowballing, it's true. So even in Mage Knight, if you get spells, artifacts, advanced action cards, with the same number of cards in hand, you can do more, which means that you can defeat dragons later in the game, you can clear spawning grounds, for example. But to actually win the game, you do have to do checks that you have to do in a single turn. It doesn't actually matter how many spells and artifacts and advanced action cards you have in your deck. You do have to have a single turn where you can actually take a city. And once you increase the difficulty, it makes this one turn where you have to prove yourself more difficult. And this is not trivialized by the snowballing. Because again, having more good cards doesn't mean that you can have the single turn. You have to prepare with crystals and get the right cards in hand, but then at some point you have to take the city, then you have to prove yourself. And increasing the difficulty means at some point it's just not feasible to take the attack of so many more tokens. You can take the city in 2, or defeat Volca in 2, or defeat the Avatar in 2 turns, or even more, but then you still need to take the attack of everything else. So there's this check built in, which contrasts the snowballing. But in Rome, I don't see it currently. There is no check. So it's just the snowballing. And once you have the level 2s, once you get these chains going, it's really snowballing so hard that with another round you can do whatever you like, I think. So the increases in difficulty, they are in contrast to this exponential snowballing. You don't have to construct a deck or get into a situation where in a single turn you have to like pass a check. I think that's currently my view on the game after having played it 4 times only, but as a Mage Knight veteran obviously, who is used to all this powering and optimizing stuff like this, making the most of your hand with all this input randomness, I would say I'm an expert at that, even though I don't know this game. But I do feel like this is a big contrast to Mage Knight. I will say what I said in the beginning of the game, that Augustus is a really good leader because of the foreign trade. As you can see, I have used trades a lot, and it gives you so many resources that without the foreign trade, if I play another leader, I haven't played one yet, I really have to compensate for this, because if you have to walk everywhere where you want to initiate a trade, that's a huge contrast. Without much movement, what are you even doing? I can play Augustus with capacity of 0 basically, yeah, so it's literally 0, because movement is not that important if you do have foreign trade. So you have to do your conquest in one swoop. And I could have gone here, at least in the last round. Definitely I could have swooped there as well. That's another 8 gold, with Imperator even more. So movement is really not that important. And once you do have to initiate a trade on site, it becomes much more important how this is actually laid out. So I do think maybe Augustus is an easy leader here. Maybe I have to try some other leader. But I do want to wrap it up at that point. I did win my first game on Expert. Unless you are correcting me and finding out what I did wrong, please do so. I really honestly want to know. But until then, I hope you enjoyed the game and see you in the next one.